Close your eyes for a moment. Everything you see, hear, feel, the stars above, the ground beneath you, even your own thoughts, what if all of it was happening inside a vast consciousness? And that consciousness is the universe itself. For centuries, mystics have whispered that reality is a dream, not metaphorically, but literally. That matter is not the foundation, but mind. That every galaxy, every atom, every heartbeat exists within the imagination of something far greater. Modern science, unexpectedly, is beginning to circle this idea. Quantum physics tells us the observer shapes reality. Neuroscience admits it cannot explain how subjective experience, the eye behind your eyes, comes from matter. And ancient traditions from Vedanta to Taoism have long suggested there was never a separation between the observer and the observed. If the universe is dreaming, what is it dreaming about? And why does it dream us? Today, we will walk between physics and philosophy, between myth and mathematics, and ask the question that could rewrite our understanding of existence itself. Are we living inside the mind of the cosmos, or are we the cosmos dreaming ourselves? There's a thought that slips into the mind quietly, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, and once it arrives, it refuses to leave. It's the thought that everything you see, everything you feel, everything you've ever called reality might be a dream, not your dream alone. Not the fleeting landscapes your brain invents while you sleep, but a dream vast enough to contain galaxies. A dream the universe itself might be having. The feeling of the unreal, it begins innocently, a fleeting sensation when the world seems just a little too perfect in its imperfection. The way the wind moves through the trees feels scripted. The timing of a stranger's smile feels rehearsed. You catch your own reflection in a passing window, and for a heartbeat, you don't quite recognize the person looking back. And then the question arises, if this is a dream, who is dreaming it? The oldest question in philosophy. This is not a modern thought. Thousands of years ago, in the forests of India, sages of the Upanishads closed their eyes and listened for the sound of ultimate truth. They spoke of Brahman, the infinite, unchanging reality behind all appearances, and of Atman, the inner self that is not separate from it. In the Chinese tradition, the philosopher Zhuangzi told the story of dreaming he was a butterfly, only to wake and wonder whether he was a man who had dreamt of being a butterfly. Or a butterfly dreaming he was a man, and in the West, Plato imagined humanity chained in a cave, watching shadows on a wall, mistaking those shadows for reality itself. Across cultures and centuries, one question keeps returning. Is the world outside us? Truly outside us? A mind-sized universe. We like to imagine that our thoughts exist within the universe. But what if the universe exists within thought? This is the inversion that turns the whole picture inside out. It's the idea that consciousness is not a small byproduct of matter, but that matter itself is a manifestation within consciousness. It's unsettling because it erases the familiar border between in here and out there. If the stars above and the neurons in your head are both patterns within the same field of awareness, then the division between self and cosmos begins to dissolve. Dream logic. Think of how dreams work. While you are inside a dream, everything feels solid. You can feel the ground under your feet, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the pull of gravity. Characters speak to you with minds of their own. The world feels independent and real. And then you wake up. The trees, the faces, the streets, gone. Yet, while you slept, they were as real as anything you've ever known. So here's the question. How do you know you've woken up now? What if waking life is simply another layer of dreaming? What if there's a deeper awakening still ahead of you? One in which you'll look back on this life as the most intricate dream you ever had. The view from the edge, sometimes this thought comes not from philosophy but from experience, moments of altered perception. People speak of standing on a mountaintop and feeling the world around them breathe. Of being caught in the rhythm of waves until the boundary between me and ocean disappears. of falling in love so deeply that the world seems to be made entirely of one shimmering fabric. These moments are cracks in the facade. They hint at a truth that can't quite be grasped, only felt. A dreamer without a face. If the universe is dreaming, then who or what is the dreamer? Some traditions name it God, others call it mind, spirit, source, or the infinite. But the truth is, whatever name we give it, it's something beyond the grasp of language. In the end, even the word dream is just a metaphor, a finger pointing towards something we can't yet see clearly. But it's a useful metaphor because it invites us to turn inward, to question the solidity of the world we take for granted. Why this question matters, you might think this is all abstract, interesting to ponder, perhaps, but irrelevant to daily life. Yet, if it's true, if reality is mind-shaped and mind-born, then everything changes. It changes what we think death is. It changes what we think life is. It changes who and what we think we are. It means that every encounter, every decision, every fleeting second might be part of a vast tapestry woven by a dreamer that is also us. And so we end this first step with the question that will echo through the chapters ahead. If everything is a dream, what is the dreamer, and can we wake up to it? Some questions live in the borderlands, too strange for science, too structured for pure mysticism. The idea that the universe might be a dream belongs here, in this twilight zone where quantum physics shakes hands with ancient spiritual insight. For centuries, these worlds ignored each other. Scientists sought solid facts, mystics sought inner truth. But in the last 100 years, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath both began to shift. The quantum puzzle. In the early 20th century, physicists thought they were closing in on a complete picture of reality. Newton's clockwork universe was almost within reach, neat, orderly, predictable. Then quantum mechanics arrived and tore the picture apart. The quantum world revealed particles that were not particles at all, but shimmering possibilities, existing in many states until observed. Light could behave as a wave or a particle depending on how you looked at it. Electrons could be into places at once. Even stranger, the act of measurement didn't just reveal reality. It seemed to help create it. This is not mystical poetry, it is experimental fact. And it forces a question that sounds suspiciously philosophical. If reality depends on observation, then what is an observer? The consciousness question, some physicists resist the idea that human consciousness has anything to do with it. They argue that observation is just interaction, a particle meeting a detector, no mind required. But others, like the great physicist John Wheeler, dared to say it out loud. We are participators in bringing into being not only the near and here, but the far away and long ago. Wheeler's participatory universe suggests that the cosmos is not a pre-existing stage on which we act, but an unfolding reality shaped in part by our awareness. Which sounds suspiciously like what mystics have been saying for millennia. Ancient echoes in modern science, the Hindu philosopher Shankara spoke of the world as Maya, not illusion in the sense of falsehood, but illusion in the sense that a dream is illusory. It is real as experience, but not as independent, permanent substance. Buddhist thought, too, insists that reality is empty of fixed essence, that it arises through dependent co-arising, much like the way quantum particles emerge only in relationship to other phenomena. And the Taoist sage Laozi described the Tao, the underlying way, as something that cannot be named, only lived. Across these traditions runs the same current. The world is not a solid object out there, but a fluid process inseparable from the awareness that perceives it. The holographic whisper. In the late 20th century, another strange idea emerged from physics, the holographic principle. It suggests that the three-dimensional universe we experience might be a projection of information stored on a distant two-dimensional surface, much like a hologram contains a full 3D image in flat light interference patterns. If that's true, then the solidity of our lives is not what it seems. The world might be more like a rendered image than a self-existing structure. And in that light, the thought that the universe is a dream doesn't feel so far-fetched. Dreams are also internally consistent projections. Within them, we feel space, time, distance, all arising from a deeper, hidden pattern. Mind as the ground of being, some philosophers, drawing from both physics and metaphysics, have begun to explore a radical hypothesis that consciousness is not produced by matter, but that matter arises within consciousness. This is known as idealism, not the be-optimistic kind, but the metaphysical position that mind is the primary reality. Bishop George Berkeley argued this in the 18th century, that the world exists because it is perceived ultimately by an infinite mind. Modern proponents include physicist Amit Goswami, who speaks of a self-aware universe, and Bernardo Kastrup, who describes all of reality as the thoughts of a cosmic mind. The trouble with evidence, of course, the scientific mind demands proof. Can we measure the mind of the universe? Can we point to an equation that proves the dreamer exists? So far, no, and perhaps that is the point. If the dream is seamless, then from within it, all signs will point back into the dream itself. It's like trying to see your own eye without a mirror, or trying to taste your own tongue, but absence of proof is not proof of absence. The practical implications: why does any of this matter? Because if the universe is mind-born, then our own consciousness is not a fragile accident. It is part of the fundamental fabric of reality. It means that death may not be annihilation, but transformation, the dream changing form, not ending. It means that meaning is not imposed by us on a meaningless world. Meaning is baked into the very nature of reality. And perhaps most importantly, it means that to know ourselves is, in some way, to know the universe. Which brings us to the next step in our journey. If the universe is a mind, how does it think? How does it imagine the vastness of galaxies and the intimacy of a single heartbeat? If you've ever woken from a vivid dream, you know the strange double feeling. Part of you marvels at the realism, while another part wonders how you could have believed in it so completely. Now imagine that the dream never ends, that you live an entire lifetime inside it, believing the people you meet, the places you go, the very laws of nature themselves are solid and independent. What if that's our situation right now? The dreamer's breath. In many mystical traditions, the universe is compared to the breathing of a divine being. In Hindu cosmology, Brahma inhales and exhales worlds, entire cycles of creation and dissolution. In Sufi poetry, God breathes out the cosmos as an act of love and breathes it back into stillness. If the universe is a dream, then perhaps each moment is the dreamer's breath, reality flickering in and out of existence faster than we can perceive, yet continuous in our experience, like the frames of a film. The mind that contains all minds. Consider this. In your nighttime dreams, every character you encounter is a projection of your own mind. The kind stranger, the enemy, the voice giving you directions, all of them are you, wearing different faces. If the universe is a cosmic dream, then each of us might be a facet of one infinite mind, exploring itself through countless perspectives. The mystics of the Upanishads called this tattvam asi, thou art that. You are not a part of God, you are God, dreaming yourself as you. The layers of the dream. Dreams often have layers. In lucid dreams, you can wake up inside the dream to the fact that you're dreaming, yet still remain in it. This raises a profound question: could spiritual awakening be a kind of lucidity within the cosmic dream? Many spiritual teachers suggest exactly that. Enlightenment is not escaping the world, but seeing through its solidity, recognizing the dreamer in everything. The shock of recognition. Throughout history, people have reported experiences that feel like brief awakenings from the dream. Moments where reality becomes hyper-vivid, every sound crisp, every color electric. Or moments in deep meditation where the boundary between self and world vanishes. These flashes often come with an overwhelming recognition, this is all one, and with that comes an equally overwhelming compassion, because if everything is the dreamer, then there is no other to harm. The storyteller's trick. A skilled novelist or filmmaker can create characters so believable that you laugh, cry, and worry for them, even though you know they aren't real. If the universe is a dream, then its narrative is astonishingly crafted. The physics, the biology, the history, all perfectly consistent. The joy and the tragedy, all deeply felt. Perhaps the purpose of such a dream is the richness of the experience itself. The dreamer is not rushing to wake up because the story is worth living through. Dream signs. Lucid dreamers train themselves to spot dream signs, oddities that reveal their dreaming, a clock whose numbers change every time you look, a light switch that doesn't work, a doorway that leads to the wrong room. If the cosmic dream has signs, what might they be? Some point to the strangeness of quantum mechanics, the eerie fine-tuning of the universe's constants, or the way improbable coincidences sometimes shape our lives. Others find dream signs in synchronicities, those moments when inner thought and outer events seem to mirror each other in ways too precise to ignore. Why forget the dreamer, one might ask, if we are all the dreamer, why don't we know it? Perhaps for the same reason we forget we're dreaming at night, to fully immerse ourselves in the experience. If you knew you were dreaming, you might not fear, love, struggle, or grow in the same way. The stakes would seem lower, forgetting may be part of the design. It allows the dreamer to live 1,000 unique lives without skipping ahead to the ending. The problem of pain, but if the universe is a dream, how do we explain suffering? Why would the dreamer imagine such cruelty and loss? This is perhaps the deepest objection to the cosmic dream theory. Some mystical traditions answer by saying that the dreamer is not someone in the human sense, it is being itself, exploring all possibilities. Pain is not desired for its own sake, but arises inevitably in a realm of change and limitation. Others suggest that suffering drives awakening, that the pain of the dream eventually pushes the dreamer's characters toward remembering. The possibility of waking. If awakening is possible, what would it mean? In lucid dreams, waking up doesn't always end the dream, it changes how you experience it. You might still walk the dream streets, but now you know they're made of mind. Fear lessens, curiosity grows, perhaps spiritual awakening is the same. The body still lives, the world still moves, but you see it all as the dance of the dreamer and play your part with deeper joy. Toward the next question, if the universe is dreaming itself and we are the dream, then the next step is to ask, what is the purpose of the dream? Is it self-discovery, creative play, the unfolding of every possibility? If the universe is a dream, it is not a static one. It is alive, dynamic, endlessly inventing. Just as a human dream can shift from city streets to mountaintops in a breath, the cosmic dream unfolds new landscapes, species, and civilizations over billions of years. And at the heart of it all lies a question that stirs poets and physicists alike. Is the universe creating, or is it remembering? The dreamer's imagination. When we dream at night, the dream world feels spontaneous. Yet every image, every voice, every impossible scene comes from within us. If the cosmos is a dream, then every atom, galaxy, and heartbeat might be the self-expression of the dreamer's imagination. This creativity is evident in the sheer variety of existence, from spiral galaxies to 100,000 light-years wide to the iridescent wings of a blue moth butterfly. The scale and intimacy coexist like notes in a single melody. In this view, evolution itself becomes a kind of improvisation, the dreamer exploring what it's like to be a trilobite, a coral reef, a crow, a human. Patterns within patterns, even in chaos, the universe reveals a strange sense of design. The branching of rivers mirrors the branching of trees, which mirrors the branching of neurons. Spiral galaxies echo the spiral of seashells and hurricanes. Are these just coincidences, or are they signatures of a mind thinking in fractals, reusing patterns in different media, like a composer weaving variations on a theme? Some physicists, studying the mathematics of complexity, suggest that these recurring structures are not merely efficient, they might be inevitable, as if reality itself prefers certain shapes. The dream learning itself. In our dreams, we sometimes revisit the same settings or themes over and over. Psychologists suggest this may be the subconscious working on unresolved questions. Could the universe be doing something similar? In this metaphor, the dreamer is not omniscient in the way we imagine a deity to be. Instead, it is infinite potential exploring itself, learning through trial and error, joy and tragedy, life and death. This would mean that our discoveries in art, in science, in kindness, are not merely human achievements. They are the dreamer coming to know itself more deeply through us. Creativity as a spiritual act. When a poet writes a line that seems to arrive out of nowhere, or a composer hears a melody before touching an instrument, there is often a sense that the work already existed, they are merely channeling it. Artists throughout history have described inspiration as being given something, as if the universe itself were whispering through them. If we are all dream characters in the mind of the cosmos, then perhaps creative acts are moments when we align most directly with the dreamer's flow, when the separation between me and source dissolves and pure creation pours through. The edge of possibility. Every dream has an edge, a place where the dreamer has not yet imagined what's beyond. In human dreams, that edge might be a hazy horizon, a locked door, a shadowy forest. In the cosmic dream, the edge may be what we call the unknown. Scientific exploration then becomes the dreamer pushing its own boundaries, seeing what it's like to inhabit new truths. Likewise, spiritual practice could be the dreamer testing the limits of identity and awareness. The edge is where life feels most alive, because it is where the dream is still being written. The unfinished symphony. If the universe is an evolving dream, then it is more like a symphony in progress than a completed masterpiece. The opening movements have played, galaxies formed, stars ignited, planets cooled, life arose, but the finale has not yet been composed. The future is not fixed. Just as a lucid dreamer can shape the dream in real time, perhaps the dreamer, through us, is choosing how the story unfolds. Every choice we make, individually and collectively, adds a note to the music. The shadow side of creation, but dreams are not only beautiful. They can also be strange, frightening, or destructive. If the dreamer's creativity is boundless, then it must include the possibility of failure, chaos, and suffering. Without shadow, light has no meaning. Without tension, the music has no resolution. The challenge, then, is to embrace the full spectrum, to see even destruction as part of the larger dance of renewal, as forests burn to make way for new growth. When the dreamer meets itself, perhaps the most intriguing possibility is that the dreamer occasionally becomes self-aware through its dream. When a scientist decodes the DNA spiral, when a mystic realizes I am that, when a child stares in wonder at the night sky, these might be moments when the dreamer is looking in the mirror. And if the dreamer sees itself clearly enough, could the dream change? Could compassion become as fundamental as gravity? The dream we co-create, this leads to a radical thought. If the dreamer is dreaming through us, then our actions and choices directly influence the shape of the dream. Art that awakens empathy, inventions that heal, acts of generosity. These may not only change the world, but also change the dreamer's own experience of itself. In this sense, every life matters not just to itself or its loved ones, but to the universe as a whole. From creation to purpose, if creation is constant and infinite, does it have a destination? Or is the act of dreaming itself the point? In Chapter 5, we'll explore the possibility that the universe's purpose is not to reach an end, but to deepen its own awareness, to become fully lucid in its dreaming. That path may lead us to one of the most profound questions of all. If the dreamer wakes, what happens to the dream? If we are characters in the dreamer's mind, then what would it mean for the dreamer to become aware that it's dreaming? This is not an abstract question. In lucid dreaming, a dreamer realizes, I am dreaming right now, and the dream shifts. The dreamer gains agency. The dream gains clarity. Could the universe be moving toward that same kind of awakening, a state where the dreamer becomes fully conscious within the dream? If we are characters in the dreamer's mind, then what would it mean for the dreamer to become aware that it's dreaming? This is not an abstract question. In lucid dreaming, a dreamer realizes, I am dreaming right now, and the dream shifts. The dreamer gains agency. The dream gains clarity. Could the universe be moving toward that same kind of awakening, a state where the dreamer becomes fully conscious within the dream? Signs of a lucid universe. In a normal dream, we take everything as given, the streets, the people, the sky overhead. Only in lucidity do we begin to question, wait, how is this here? On the cosmic scale, humanity's growing self-reflection may be the first glimmers of lucidity. We have evolved to the point where the universe, through us, can ask, what is reality? What am I? Why is there something rather than nothing? These are not just human curiosities, they are the dream asking about itself. The mirror of consciousness. Imagine a mirror appearing in a dream. The dreamer looks into it and sees their own reflection, but instead of a face, they see the entire dream, mountains, rivers, stars. Perhaps our sciences and philosophies are that mirror. With every telescope we point outward and every theory we test, we are giving the dreamer a clearer picture of itself. The fact that reality can be aware of itself is astonishing, like a storybook whose characters realize they are part of a narrative. The moment of lucidity. In a human lucid dream, awareness often comes in a flash, something feels too strange, too impossible, and the dreamer realizes this is a dream. In the cosmic dream, the moment of lucidity may be more gradual, the accumulation of countless acts of awareness, compassion, and creativity until the tipping point is reached. It may not be a single mind that wakes up, but the network of all conscious beings realizing their shared source. What changes when the dreamer wakes? Lucid dreamers often describe gaining the ability to shape the dream intentionally, to fly, to transform the scenery, to face nightmares without fear. If the universe became lucid, perhaps the laws of nature wouldn't change, but our experience of them would. Suffering might still exist, but we could see it from a larger perspective, understanding its role in the unfolding. We might lose the sense of separation entirely, living with the direct knowing that every other being is another facet of the same mind. The risk of waking too soon, but there's a paradox. Waking too abruptly can end the dream. In lucid dreaming, the shock of realization sometimes causes the dreamer to wake into ordinary reality. If the cosmic dreamer woke too quickly, would the universe collapse back into its source? Or is lucidity the natural evolution of the dream, designed to expand rather than dissolve? Mystics across cultures speak of awakening not as an escape from the world, but as a way of inhabiting it more deeply, more skillfully. Perhaps cosmic lucidity would work the same way. Humanity's role. In this metaphor, humanity may be like the neurons in the dreamer's brain that first spark the thought, I am. If so, our role is not small. Every insight, every act of empathy, every attempt to understand reality is part of the dreamer's own awakening process. Our personal spiritual practices, a meditation, prayer, contemplation, could be microcosmic rehearsals of what the whole universe is moving toward. Dream characters who know. In some lucid dreams, the dreamer speaks to the dream characters, telling them, you know you're in a dream, right? Some characters nod, others laugh, some fade away. In our reality, there are those who have glimpsed the dream state, mystics, sages, poets, and have tried to share it. Some have been celebrated, others ignored, others silenced. Yet the message remains. This is not all there is. The ethics of a lucid universe. If the dreamer became lucid, moral responsibility would deepen, not vanish. In a normal dream, harming a character feels inconsequential. In lucidity, you know they are part of you, and that changes everything. Perhaps the next step for humanity is this moral lucidity, living with the knowledge that every harm done to another is done to oneself, and every kindness enriches the whole dream. The horizon of awareness, if the universe's lucidity continues to grow, what lies beyond? Maybe there is no beyond. Maybe lucidity is the ultimate state, a way of being where creation, awareness, and love flow together seamlessly. Or maybe lucidity is only one phase, and the dreamer has further adventures in store, dreams within dreams, awakenings within awakenings. Preparing for the moment, whether the cosmic awakening is near or billions of years away, we can live as if we are already lucid. We can question the assumptions of the dream. We can practice compassion toward every character we meet. We can marvel at the beauty and strangeness of the world, knowing it is both real and dreamlike. And in doing so, we may help the dreamer's eyes open a little wider. In Chapter 6, we will explore the most mysterious possibility yet: what happens if the dreamer not only becomes lucid, but chooses to change the dream entirely, rewriting the very laws of reality from within. If lucidity is the dreamer realizing "I am dreaming," then the next question is inevitable. What if the dreamer decides to change the dream? This is where our metaphor turns daring, because if the universe is a living mind, lucidity may not be the end point. It could be the starting point for active creation. The power of the realized dreamer. In an ordinary lucid dream, the dreamer can experiment, reshape landscapes, heal wounds, bring back lost companions, or transform a nightmare into beauty. What would it mean for the universe to do the same? Could laws we consider fixed, gravity, time, entropy, be rewritten from within? Could the constants of physics be expressions of the dreamer's current preferences, subject to evolution as awareness grows? Some mystical traditions suggest that this is already happening, that what we call miracles are simply moments when the deeper mind chooses to alter its own rules. The myth of the immutable script. We often think of reality as a fixed screenplay. But if it's a dream, then the script is more like improvisational theater, patterns and probabilities instead of predetermined lines. In this view, change is not a glitch, it's part of the design. The dream is meant to evolve because the dreamer's own consciousness is evolving. The first edits, if the dreamer began rewriting the dream, we might notice subtle shifts first, the way dreamers in a lucid dream start by changing small details before reshaping the entire scene. Collective intuitions becoming stronger, coincidences that defy statistical explanation. Entire cultural shifts appearing in surprisingly short timeframes. Some would call these chance. Others would call them synchronicity, the dream editing itself in real time. Shared lucidity. One person becoming lucid in a dream can change their own actions, but if multiple dream characters become lucid together, the dream transforms more radically. What if humanity as a whole reached a shared lucidity? What if billions of minds aligned in their recognition that they are expressions of one mind? This is not utopia as fantasy. It is lucidity as physics. In such a state, cooperation and compassion would not be moral ideals but obvious facts. When the dream heals itself. In nightmares, lucid dreamers sometimes confront the frightening figure instead of running, and the monster transforms, often into something wounded or beautiful. Applied cosmically, this suggests that even the universe's darkness, suffering, conflict, entropy could be met with awareness rather than suppression, leading to transformation rather than endless repetition. Maybe the rewriting is not about erasing challenges, but reframing them so that growth and joy are no longer at odds. The architect within. If the universe is a dream, then each of us is both character and co-architect. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions ripple outward, subtly shaping the dreamscape we share. This is not just poetic metaphor. Some interpretations of quantum theory suggest that observation itself plays a role in the unfolding of events. What you focus on, the dream notices. What you believe possible, the dream experiments with. The question of consent, but here we meet a profound ethical dilemma. If the dream is shared, can one part of it rewrite reality for all without consent? In lucid dreams, dreamers often find that pushing too hard against the dream's flow causes instability. Likewise, in the cosmic dream, rewriting might require harmony between many dreamers, a collective agreement about what the new story should be. Perhaps this is why revolutions of thought and spirit take time. The dream is waiting for enough of its parts to want the same transformation. The edge of the possible. In lucid dreams, dreamers sometimes discover that certain things remain stubbornly resistant to change, as if there are deeper rules holding the dream together. The universe may be the same. There may be anchor laws the dreamer will not rewrite because they are essential to the learning, beauty, and coherence of the whole. But even within these boundaries, the creative potential could be vast, enough to reshape civilizations, heal ecosystems, and reimagine the meaning of life itself. Rewriting versus ending the dream. One danger of rewriting is losing the richness of the original dream. If all pain, loss, and uncertainty were erased, would the dream still have depth? Mystics have long warned that transcendence must balance with immanence. You can change the dream, but you must also honor it. The goal is not to escape life, but to infuse it with greater awareness and love. You are already writing. We may imagine the dreamer as something out there, but the truth is more intimate. Every time you choose compassion over cruelty, you are rewriting the dream. Every time you imagine a better future and act toward it, you are altering the storyline. Every time you wake from your own small habits of thought, the whole dream gains a little more clarity. This is not symbolic, it's the actual process of the dream changing itself from within. The dreamer's next move, if the dreamer is awakening, and if rewriting has already begun, then the future is not fixed. It's being composed right now by the very act of us imagining it. Perhaps this is the truest meaning of the universe dreaming itself. It is not only telling a story, it is listening to its characters for new plot twists. And maybe, just maybe, the most beautiful chapter hasn't even been imagined yet. In Chapter 7, we will explore the most daring possibility of all, that the dream eventually realizes it is not a dream at all, but something beyond dreaming and waking entirely. If the metaphor of the universe as a dream has carried us this far, then we must ask, what lies beyond the dream, and perhaps even stranger, what lies beyond waking up? The end of all distinctions. In dreams, there is a moment when lucidity fades and you open your eyes to a new frame of reference, the real world. But what if waking from this universe is not the same as awakening from a personal dream? Mystics from multiple traditions warn of an illusion even greater than the dream, the illusion that waking is the final step. In Vedanta, they speak of Turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It is pure awareness without subject or object. In Zen, they say, before enlightenment, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. During awakening, mountains are no longer mountains and rivers no longer rivers. After enlightenment, mountains are mountains again. The cycle turns, but the experience is different. You have not escaped the dream, you have learned to see it without separation. Not escaping, but absorbing. If the dreamer wakes up from the cosmic dream, it may not vanish. Instead, it may be embraced so completely that the distinction between dream and reality dissolves. The boundaries between creator and creation, self and other, mind and matter, all fade. You realize you were never trapped in a dream. You were always the dream, the dreamer, and the act of dreaming itself. The collapse of the observer. In our current state, we experience reality through separation. I am here, the world is out there, and I watch it unfold. Beyond both dreaming and waking, that split collapses. There is no one left to observe, only the pure happening, no labels, no commentary. Just the raw, infinite presence that does not require an observer to exist. This is why words strain and metaphors crack when describing this state. It is not you experiencing unity, it is unity experiencing. The paradox of choice. In lucid dreams, you can choose. In waking life, you can choose, but beyond both, choice may dissolve entirely, not because you've lost power, but because there is no other to choose against. Every possible action is already fully expressed in the totality of being. Nothing is missing, nothing needs to be added. From the human perspective, this sounds like stasis. But from the perspective beyond, it is completeness, the perfection of nothing needing to change. When the ocean realizes it's water, if the dreamer realizing I am dreaming is profound, then the final step is like the ocean realizing it is water. Waves rise, fall, and vanish, but none are separate from the sea. When the ocean knows itself as water, it does not cling to waves nor fear their disappearance. It flows without resistance because it is the flow. The gentle return, strangely, many mystical accounts say that after touching this state, you return to ordinary life. You still make breakfast, you still talk to friends. You still experience the ups and downs of the human condition. But something subtle has shifted. You know, deep down, that you were never only the wave. You were always the water. This changes how you meet joy, pain, loss, and love. They're still felt deeply, but without the desperation to grasp or escape them. The universe at play. From this vantage, the universe is not a prison or a puzzle to be solved, it is a dance. Birth and death, creation and destruction, order and chaos, these are no longer opposites in conflict, but movements in rhythm. The dance does not require a reason to be beautiful, it simply is. And in realizing this, the dreamer no longer needs to wake up from the dream because the dream was never separate from reality in the first place. The last question falls away. In the human mind, questions keep us moving. Why am I here? Where is this going? What is the meaning? Beyond dreaming and waking, these questions dissolve not because they are answered, but because they are no longer necessary. It's as if the mind, which once chased meaning like a thirsty traveler chasing water, suddenly realizes it has been floating in an infinite ocean all along. A presence without center or edge. Descriptions from those who've touched this state are hauntingly similar. A stillness so deep that even the idea of stillness fades. A presence so vast that it has no edge, no center, no direction. A love so unconditional that it has no opposite. And yet, they often say, it was not mine because in that moment, there is no me to claim it. The return to the marketplace, Zen uses the image of the 10 ox-herding pictures to illustrate awakening. In the final image, after enlightenment, the sage returns to the marketplace, barefoot, smiling, carrying wine and fish to share. The message is clear: the ultimate realization is not an escape from the world, but a full participation in it. When you see through both the dream and the waking state, you can live in either without being bound by them. Living as the whole, to live beyond dreaming and waking does not mean withdrawing from life's responsibilities. It means inhabiting them more fully without the weight of illusion. You laugh, you cry, you build, you lose, but all with the unshakable knowing that the dream and reality are not two. This is what some call liberation. Others call it union. Others, simply, home. In Chapter 8, we will explore how this ultimate perspective reshapes the way we live now, not in some distant future, but in this exact breath, in this exact heartbeat, in this very moment of reading these words. When the illusion of separation fades, when you no longer see the dream and waking as two, what's left is not a mystical cloud you float away on, but this, right here, right now. The moment you've always been in. The ordinary miracle. It's tempting to imagine that ultimate realization transforms life into a constant state of bliss. But many who've touched that state say something different. You still wake up to a messy kitchen. Your car still breaks down, you still get hurt. You still laugh at silly jokes. The difference is subtle but seismic. None of it is ordinary anymore. Every mundane act, washing dishes, walking to the store, answering an email, becomes a direct expression of the whole. When the doer disappears, one of the great shifts after seeing through both dreaming and waking is the disappearance of the doer. You still act, in fact, you may act more fluidly and effectively, but without the constant commentary of "I am doing this." It's like playing music without thinking about your hands or speaking without rehearsing the words in your head. Life becomes less about making things happen and more about letting things happen through you. The freedom in responsibility. Strangely, this perspective doesn't make you passive, it makes you deeply responsible. Not because you fear consequences, not because you're trying to earn cosmic points, but because you recognize that every action is the whole acting. Every gesture ripples into the fabric you share with all beings. When you speak with kindness, the universe speaks with kindness. When you cause harm, the universe harms itself. This is not morality imposed from above, it is an intimacy too close to ignore. Love without reason, love, from this view, stops being a transaction. You don't love someone because they are family, friend, or lover. You don't love them because they've earned it. You love because there is no separation between you and them. Their joy is your joy. Their pain is your pain. Their life is your life. This is not sentimental. It is simply the recognition of reality. The fearless heart. When you know you are the whole, death loses its edge. It's not that the body won't die, it will. It's not that loss won't hurt, it will. But you know, in your marrow, that the end of a wave is not the end of the ocean. This changes how you live, you take risks with your heart. You speak truth more easily, you dare to be fully here because nothing can truly be taken from you. The dance of form and emptiness. In Mahayana Buddhism, they say, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It means the world of appearances and the reality of wholeness are not two, they are each other. To live as the whole is to honor both. You care for the body, knowing it is temporary. You care for the planet, knowing it is a fleeting expression. You care for people, knowing they too will change and pass. The fleeting nature of all things doesn't make them less precious. It makes them infinite in their value because they will never be here again in quite the same way. Seeing yourself everywhere. Once the dreamer and the dream are one, you see yourself in every face. The old man on the bus is you. The child playing in the park is you. The stranger arguing in the street is you. This isn't abstract, it's visceral. It doesn't mean you agree with everything. But it does mean that compassion becomes the default response because hurting them would be like hurting your own hand. Living without chasing. Perhaps the most surprising thing about living now as the whole is the end of chasing. You still have goals, you still make plans, but they are not fueled by the belief that something is missing. Instead, they become like playing a game you love. You move forward, not because you must win, but because the playing itself is joy. The quiet joy of enough. When you stop chasing, you discover something radical. You already have enough. Enough time, enough being, enough life, not in the sense of never striving, but in the sense that you no longer see yourself as incomplete. From here, every new experience is a gift, not a patch for a hole in your soul. Living as a blessing. In some traditions, those who see the whole are called blessings simply by existing. It's not about grand gestures or public recognition. It's about the subtle effect of being fully here. The way your presence eases tension, the way your listening makes others feel heard, the way your laughter reminds people of something they'd forgotten. You don't try to bless, you just are. Returning again and again, even with this realization, old habits of mind return. You forget, you feel separate again, that's okay. Living now as the whole isn't about staying in some perfect state. It's about remembering, again and again, that the dream and reality are not two. Each time you remember, you deepen your capacity to live from that truth. In Chapter 9, we'll close this journey by exploring the eternal return of the dream, the paradox of living in a universe that endlessly creates itself, and how the dance of dreaming and waking never truly ends. We've traveled far. From the first flicker of the question, is the universe conscious? To glimpses of a reality where dreamer and dream are one. But here's the paradox: even if you awaken, the dream doesn't stop. The dance without an ending. Some imagine awakening as a permanent graduation. You step out of the dream once and for all, like a character escaping a play. But those who live from this realization say otherwise. The dream keeps moving. The waves keep rising, forms keep appearing, and perhaps most surprising, you keep playing your role. You eat breakfast, you pay bills, you comfort a friend. You feel sadness, joy, frustration. It's just that you no longer believe the role is all you are. The cosmic breath. Think of the universe as breathing. In breath, creation emerges, galaxies, stars, planets, lives. Out breath, everything dissolves back into silence. But breath doesn't stop with one inhale and exhale. It continues endlessly. The dream of form is like that. It arises, subsides, arises again without a final waking. Even after death, even after dissolving into the source, the play may begin again in a new form, a new world, a new way of being. Why the dream returns? Why would the whole dream again? Not out of need, the whole is complete. Not out of boredom, there is no lack to fill. Perhaps simply because that's what it does, like music that cannot stop being music. Like fire that cannot stop burning, like love that cannot stop expressing. The dream is not a mistake to be fixed, it's an overflowing. You will forget again. Here's the curious twist: each time the dream returns, forgetting returns too. You will not remember every past life, you will not carry the whole vision of the source. But traces remain, a deep longing, a strange familiarity, a sense that there is more than meets the eye. This forgetting is not a flaw, it's part of the dance. If you remembered everything, the play would lose its texture. The challenge and beauty of life arise from the mystery. The eternal student, even if awakening has no final finish line, it has infinite depth. Each life, each dream, each moment is another chance to learn compassion more deeply, to embody the truth more fully, to love without condition more completely. The whole doesn't awaken once, it awakens endlessly through each of us in every moment. Living the return consciously, to live with the awareness of the eternal return isn't about detachment, it's about intimacy. Knowing you will return doesn't make life less precious. It makes it infinitely precious. You see every encounter as both first and last. You treat every stranger as someone you may meet again. You savor every sunrise as if it's both the beginning and the end. The dreamer awakening in the dream. Imagine a lucid dream. You realize you're dreaming, but instead of waking up into another real world, you choose to stay in the dream, not to escape it, but to dance within it, knowing what it is. That's what it means to live with this understanding. You participate fully, but without the heaviness of believing it's all there is. Why the return is not a trap. Some fear the idea of returning forever, imagining it as a wheel they must escape. But the eternal return is not punishment. It's not a cage. It's more like a song that never grows old because you are always hearing it for the first time. Each verse is new, each note is fresh, and you are both the listener and the song. The final bow that isn't final. In theater, the final bow feels like an ending. The curtain falls, the lights go up. But tomorrow, the actors will step on stage again. Life, too, is like that. Death may feel like the curtain call, but the play itself is eternal. The actors change, the scenes shift, but the essence, the dreaming of the whole, continues. Returning to the question, we began with a question: are we living in a cosmic mind? After this journey, perhaps the better question is, if we are the cosmic mind, what kind of dream will we choose to live? Because even if the dream returns forever, each return is a chance to create differently, to shape the dream with more beauty, more truth, more love. The closing circle, and so we end where we began. The universe is dreaming, you are the dream. You are also the dreamer, and when this dream ends, another will rise. Not as a burden, but as an eternal act of creation. The wheel turns, the story unfolds, the dream renews. And through it all, you remain what you have always been. The whole, the One, the vast and broken mind of the cosmos, playing forever as you.